In the latest round of shocking developments surrounding The Bold and the Beautiful, the soap world has been rocked not by a fictional twist, but by devastating real-life news connected to one of its most iconic stars. Leaked reports reveal that veteran actor John McCook, who has embodied the role of Eric Forrester since the very beginning of the CBS daytime drama, suffered a severe stroke at his private residence shortly after wrapping a day of filming. The news has thrown the cast, crew, and devoted fans into turmoil, with fears about his future and the uncertain fate of the Forrester family patriarch on the show. According to insiders, John had been working tirelessly, continuing to anchor pivotal storylines despite his advancing age and demanding schedule. That relentless dedication reportedly took its toll. After finishing an intense shoot, he returned home, visibly fatigued. It was there that he collapsed. His wife found him unconscious and immediately called emergency services. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, where doctors fought to stabilize him. For hours, his fate hung in the balance. Fans held their breath as the story spread through backstage whispers and eventually leaked to the press. The grim reality, however, is that while John survived, the damage left behind is profound. Medical professionals confirmed that he suffered a significant stroke, one that left lasting neurological impairment. Though his life was saved, the prognosis is heartbreaking. He now faces life in a near-vegetative state, reliant on machines and constant care, unable to speak or perform. This tragic development means his career as Eric Forrester, a role he carried with dignity, power, and grace for decades, has effectively come to an end. The industry, his co-stars, and generations of viewers who grew up with his work are all reeling from the news. For The Bold and the Beautiful, this is not merely an off-screen challenge, it is a seismic creative crisis. Eric Forrester has been the foundation of the Forrester family since the soap's debut in 1987. As the patriarch, he has carried countless storylines, from fashion house rivalries to heartbreaking love stories, betrayals, and family secrets. His presence has always been central to the identity of the show. Now, with John unable to continue, the writing team is confronted with an impossible decision. Do they recast Eric with a new actor, or do they write his exit permanently into the narrative? Closing the chapter on the Forrester patriarch once and for all? Behind the scenes, the debate is fierce. On one hand, Eric Forrester is a character so ingrained in the DNA of the show that losing him could destabilize the balance of every ongoing arc. His wisdom, his gravitas, his ability to bring the family together during moments of crisis, all of that would vanish without a replacement. Some argue that recasting, however painful, might be necessary to preserve the Forrester legacy and keep the show's continuity intact. Others, however, insist that Eric's story deserves a natural end. To replace John McCook, whose face, voice, and presence have defined Eric for nearly 4 decades, might feel like betrayal to the fans who have loved him from day one. If the writers choose to let Eric Forrester go, the storyline potential is staggering. His death could set off a cascade of grief, conflict, and power struggles that reshape The Bold and the Beautiful for years to come. Ridge would be thrust into the role of patriarch, inheriting both leadership of Forrester Creations and the emotional burden of filling his father's shoes. Brooke, already embroiled in her own web of scandal and tragedy, would face the loss of a man who always defended her in her fiercest battles. Steffi, still reeling from her mother Taylor's death and her own traumas abroad, would collapse under yet another loss. Thomas, too, would find himself navigating grief while wrestling with unresolved issues with his grandfather. Even characters like Quinn, Donna, and Katie, women who each loved Eric in different ways, would be devastated, forced to say goodbye to a man who was more than just a fashion mogul. The corporate fallout would be just as dramatic. Forrester Creations, without Eric's steady hand, could splinter. Rivalries between Ridge, Steffi, Thomas, and even outsiders like Bill Spencer could reignite with newfound ferocity. Who would control the company? Would Ridge and Steffi unite, or would Thomas challenge their authority? Would Brooke and Hope fight to preserve their influence in the family business? Without Eric, the empire he built might collapse into chaos. Yet if the writers decide to recast, the risk is equally high. Bringing in a new face to embody Eric would require a delicate balance. The actor would need to capture Eric's commanding presence, his gentle strength, his paternal warmth, and his occasional ruthlessness. Fans may reject the change outright, refusing to accept anyone other than John McCook in the role. Soap history has seen successful recasts before, but few characters are as deeply entwined with their original actors as Eric Forrester. To attempt it would be a gamble that could either save the show's trajectory or alienate its core audience. In the meantime, cast members have privately expressed their grief and solidarity with John and his family. Sources say the atmosphere on set is heavy with sadness, with filming schedules adjusted out of respect. Catherine Kelly Lang, who plays Brooke, was reportedly overcome with emotion upon hearing the news. Torsten K. Ridge is said to be devastated, knowing that so much of his character's strength came from playing opposite John's Eric. Other longtime cast members have shared quiet tributes, recognizing that they may have already filmed their final scenes with the man who helped define their careers. For fans, the situation is almost surreal. One moment they were debating the latest on-screen scandals, the next they were confronted with the real-life tragedy of losing a legend in slow motion. Online forums and social media have exploded with heartbreak, prayers, and speculation. Some fans are calling for Eric to be given a heroic farewell storyline, perhaps one that sees him die peacefully surrounded by family, leaving a lasting message of love and unity. Others beg for a recast, unwilling to imagine the show without its patriarch. Still others wonder whether this could mark the beginning of the end for the bold and the beautiful itself. As August bleeds into September, the writers face the hardest decision of their careers. John McCook's stroke has changed everything. The man who gave life to Eric Forrester may no longer step onto the set, but his legacy is undeniable. Whether through a dignified on-screen death or a controversial recast, the show must move forward. But no matter what path they choose, one truth remains unshakable. The bold and the beautiful will never be the same again. The image of Eric Forrester, standing tall in the Forrester Creations office, offering wisdom to his children, guiding his family, and defending his legacy, is etched into the memory of every viewer. His voice, his authority, his charm, all of it now belongs to history. The next chapter for the Forrester family will be written in grief, in change, and in the shadow of a man whose absence will never truly be filled. Whether Eric Forrester's story ends with a final bow or lives on through another phase, the loss of John McCook in the role is a wound that will never fully heal. And as fans mourn both the actor and the character, one thing is certain: this marks the end of an era and the beginning of a future as uncertain as the lives of the Forrester family themselves. In the most heartbreaking turn of events surrounding the bold and the beautiful, longtime fans and loyal viewers are now facing the reality that one of the most iconic figures of the CBS daytime drama is stepping away from the show forever. A new post from Eric Forrester's portrayer, the legendary John McCook, surfaced online and immediately spread like wildfire across social media platforms, fan forums, and soap opera news outlets. In this emotional message, John McCook revealed that his journey with the soap opera that made him a household name is at an end, not because of lack of passion or desire, but because of health struggles that no longer allow him to continue. His words carried the weight of decades of dedication, the grief of unfinished work, and the hope that the family he built on screen and the family of fans who stood by him will continue to endure even in his absence. The post, raw in its honesty and filled with emotion, began with an acknowledgement of his current struggles. McCook explained that recent health setbacks had taken their toll, and though doctors managed to save his life following a medical emergency, the long-term consequences were too severe to ignore. He admitted that the man fans have known for nearly 4 decades as the powerful, wise, and commanding Eric Forrester could no longer physically carry the weight of daily filming. Despite his resilience and his desire to keep entertaining, he made the painful admission that it was time to step back permanently. The news confirmed what many had feared after reports of his recent stroke surfaced. While the actor was stabilized, he would never again be able to take on the grueling schedule of daytime drama, which requires hours of filming and the constant energy to maintain the emotional highs and lows of soap opera storytelling. His words struck like lightning. The patriarch of the bold and the beautiful was leaving, and this time it was forever. The most striking part of John McCook's message came not in the description of his own suffering, but in his deep concern for the legacy of the Forrester family on the show and the millions of fans who have followed every twist, heartbreak, and scandal since 1987. He expressed a wish that his fictional family would endure beyond his absence, that the Forrester name would continue to thrive on screen, and that the characters he loved working alongside would keep telling stories that captivate, surprise, and inspire. He said that although he would no longer be able to contribute directly to the future of the bold and the beautiful, he would always remain its #1 fan, watching from the sidelines and cheering for his colleagues as they carried the torch forward. His heartfelt gratitude to the viewers was undeniable. McCook acknowledged that his career had been blessed not just by the chance to play Eric Forrester, but by the unwavering devotion of fans who grew up with him, who stood by him through every dramatic arc, who defended him in rivalries and praised him in triumphs. He thanked them for their letters, their support, and their belief in him as both actor and character. His post closed with an assurance that while he could no longer give himself to the show, he would always treasure the memories and the love that came with being part of a legacy that spanned nearly 40 years. "I cannot continue to give myself to this story," he wrote, "but you, the audience, have given me more than I could ever ask for. You have trusted me. You have believed in Eric. You have believed in me. And for that, I am forever grateful." The impact of this announcement has shaken the soap opera world. Castmates who have shared decades with McCook were reportedly in tears upon reading the post. Catherine Kelly Lang, who has played Brooke Logan and shared countless storylines opposite him, posted her own tribute online, calling John the heart of our family on and off screen. Torsten K. Ridge shared how much of his performance was shaped by working alongside McCook and how he felt lost at the thought of moving forward without him. Younger cast members like Jacqueline McInnes Wood, Steffi, and Matthew Atkinson, Thomas, praised him as a mentor and father figure not just in character, but in real life. A man who taught them what it meant to respect the craft while carrying the responsibility of a show that millions depended on. Fans around the globe have responded in waves of sorrow and gratitude. Message boards filled with tributes, videos of Eric's greatest moments began circulating online, and hashtags honoring John McCook trended on Twitter and Instagram. Longtime viewers reflected on how his character shaped their memories of soap opera storytelling, whether it was his eternal love triangle with Stephanie and Brooke, his struggles to maintain Forrester creations against rivals like Bill Spencer, or his tender moments with his children and grandchildren. Some recalled how Eric's wisdom often brought stability to the wildest storylines, grounding the soap in emotional reality. Others noted his resilience in recent years, delivering powerful performances even as his health began to show strain. The production side of The Bold and the Beautiful now faces the enormous challenge of addressing Eric's absence. Writers are under immense pressure to craft a storyline that honors the actor and the character with dignity. Rumors suggest that they may write Eric's exit as a tragic but graceful death, one that brings the entire Forrester family together in grief and remembrance. This would allow the show to pay tribute to his decades-long presence while also giving fans closure. Others speculate that the producers might choose to recast Eric, though many argue that no one could replace McCook's presence or the gravitas he brought to every scene. The debate has already split the fandom. Some believe Eric's story must end with John McCook's retirement, while others cling to hope that the Forrester patriarch can live on, even in another actor's hands. Regardless of what decision the writers and producers ultimately make, one thing is clear: the bold and the beautiful has entered a new era. John McCook's departure closes one of the most important chapters in soap opera history. Without him, the Forrester family loses its foundation. Storylines will shift, characters will be forced to evolve, and the show will never look the same again. But his message of hope that his fictional family and his real fans will endure provides a path forward. As fans continue to grapple with the shock, one sentiment echoes louder than all others: gratitude. Gratitude for the years of dedication, for the unforgettable performances, for the moments of joy, anger, love, and heartbreak that only John McCook could deliver as Eric Forrester. His final words in the post remind everyone that though he can no longer appear on screen, he will always remain part of the family, part of the legacy, part of the heart of the bold and the beautiful. For viewers, the story is bittersweet. They mourn the loss of seeing him on screen, but they celebrate the decades he gave them. They brace for the inevitable farewell storyline, knowing it will be one of the most emotional arcs the soap has ever delivered. And above all, they honor the man who embodied Eric Forrester for nearly 4 decades, a man whose influence on the show, on his colleagues, and on the fans will never fade. John McCook may no longer walk onto the set of The Bold and the Beautiful, but his presence will always linger in every scene, every memory, every whispered mention of the Forrester patriarch. And as he said himself, the family will endure. The stories will endure. And the audience, who have loved him unconditionally, will endure as well.